internet was
On
so...
September 26th, Arizona's historic mining town Globe was hit by one of the most devastating flash floods in its history. Torrents of water swept through downtown, swallowing streets, carrying away vehicles, and leaving a trail of destruction. Lives were lost, a stark reminder of how quickly nature can turn deadly. Floodwaters surged into homes, businesses, and historic landmarks. Nearly 1,000 propane tanks were torn from a storage yard and scattered across the valley, an invisible hazard lurking in the aftermath. Roads were closed, neighborhoods cut off, and recovery crews worked around the clock to search, rescue, and begin the long process of rebuilding. Yet Globe is more than a city of flood scars. It's a place of resilience, of history, and of mysteries that stretch far beyond the physical world. That's where our guest comes in. Meet Rita Olsen of Arizona Ghost Adventures, a team known for exploring the Southwest's haunted history. Rita calls Globe home for part of the year, and she and her team have uncovered some remarkable paranormal evidence. You've seen Arizona Ghost Adventures on the Travel Channel and Discovery Plus, from the eerie halls of the Phelps Dodge Hospital in Ajo, to the Bullion Plaza in Miami, to the haunted Acadia Ranch in Oracle. They've appeared on Fox 10 and Arizona Family News, even braving the infamous 1910 Globe Jail. Tonight, Rita joins us live to share her team's latest adventures. From historic investigations to the haunted heartbeat of small Arizona towns, we'll hear how the past refuses to stay silent, and how Globe's own resilience might just be echoed by its restless spirits.
The truth is out there, and it begins with you. Welcome to the Cosmic Fold, where we talk high strangeness. Call us at 928-288-2942. That's 928-288-2942. Or join us by video. If you're at a computer, just look for the link in the chat. Buckle up, sit around our virtual campfire, and let's get started.
Hey, gang. Well, that was fun. I'm now on my third internet connection. So, anyway, we had the intro a little bit in our beginning video. We've got Rita here again. Woohoo! She survived the flood. Welcome to the Cosmic Fold. And Rita, so you know everybody here, we've got Bove, a good friend of mine for years and years. She's up in the Sholo area. And then Helen, who is a prolific, wonderful writer and kind of psychic and kind of just all-around cool lady out on the West Coast.
All-around cool lady.
And then Denise.
I'm like, cool.
Denise is like awesome, very smart, very psychic. She's just like, you know, one of those people that if she speaks, I listen. So she's very neat. Rita also is very talented. So anyway, you want to tell them about what went on after the flood? Because we talked a little bit about it, but I left everybody else hanging.
Well, oh my goodness, you know, and it actually, I'm trying to get it to where you're not getting so much of a glare on my glasses. It actually started on Thursday. I was driving from the valley. So I go between the valley and Globe, and you have to drive through Miami, Arizona.
And for those that don't know, the valley is Phoenix area. So
yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, Phoenix, Scottsdale, that area. And you drive through Mesa and then Superior, and then you go over the mountains and you drop down into Miami. And I always call that like the sister city of the Globe, because it's just each other. And on Thursday when I came in, there was it was a really bad stormy sky, and I had called my husband on my drive out. He was staying in the valley, and I said, hey, you know, just in case it seems like it takes me a little bit longer to call you, there's some really bad storm clouds. If it's bad over the mountain, I'm going to pull over. And I must have been just behind the storm, because I did make it into Miami. I dropped down into Miami, and it looked like a war zone.
Wow.
And massive flooding. Fortunately, they had gotten out and they were clearing off the 60 so people could drive through, but all the side streets flooded. The main street, which is called Sullivan Street, flooded. Buildings were severely damaged. Um,
Wow.
and you think that's the end of it, right?
Wow.
Well, on Friday, so that was Thursday. On
Was
Friday,
it last Thursday? That was just like a week ago?
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, this just happened.
Didn't even
We're lucky to
it should
have
have been in
her.
the news, like the national news, but it wasn't. That's
Was
terrible.
in national news, yeah. Yeah. And on Friday, I work in healthcare and I was leaving work and I was stopping at the grocery store. And again, I could see oh, the lightning was just phenomenal. I can't even describe it. There was so much lightning. And
Wow.
it was like over the mountains though. And I called my husband again and said, hey, it looks like we're getting a nasty storm coming in. And he said, yeah, Florence, Arizona, which is about halfway in between. He said they had announced that they had a tornado.
Wow, that's weird.
You don't get a lot of tornadoes in Arizona.
No.
Exactly.
That's very weird.
No, I mean, I've seen one in Cave Creek, but I mean, yeah, you just don't, it's just not a common thing. It's not like Tornado Alley.
Right.
And I've lived in Tornado Alley. This is not Tornado Alley. And so I went in this grocery store and I told the lady inside, I mean, it was just so heavy. It weighed so heavy on me seeing that I told the cashier, I was like, hey, you know what? Be careful. There's a really ugly storm outside. I'm not feeling good about it. And then I went out to my car and my initial intention was to drive back into Miami because I had a friend who had a broken foot and because of the flooding, she couldn't get out and get to things. And I was going to say, hey, I'll pick you up some dinner. I'll bring you something. And I got into my car and I got into the road to drive to her house and something just told me, go home. I mean, it was like, I described it yesterday, the Morgan Freeman God voice, so deep. And I turned around and went home. And I unloaded, the few little things and my stuff from work from my car. And I could hear this rumbling, and thank God I didn't go to Miami because I heard this rumbling, and I went out in the backyard, and the lightning was just in the air around me.
Wow.
And I went back in the house, and I went out to the front where there's a covered patio, and I took some videos. It's on my website and on my TikTok and Instagram, but it was so strong, and you could see two systems converging on each other.
Wow.
Close to my house, and under one was all very green, and my neighbor had come over, and I said, that does not look good. This is not good. This is not going to be good. And it looks like a tornado. And going back and listening to the video, you can hear the thunder is so loud, but at one point you can hear a roar, like a roar.
Wow.
Like, like a movie where the dragons fly out of the sky or something.
Wow.
And of course, then the power, and it was bad. And then all of a sudden it was a wall of water that hit, just came out of the sky. And our power flickered. So I was running around finding candles, and I was telling Deb I was kind of taking my time doing it because I wanted candles that smelled like fall. So
Pumpkin spice.
like the pumpkin and the apple spice candles. I still have them mixed in with, I have a bunch of candles, but they were mixed in with my summer candles. And I wanted the house lit up because I'm here by myself. I wanted the house lit up in case the power went out.
Sure.
And then just a few minutes later, my husband calls me and he goes, are you okay? I said, what happened? And he goes, well, Globe had a flash flood. A huge part of the city's underwater. And the part that's underwater is a block from my house. But I'm on a hill, so I can't see it. And it goes down and then it curves just a little bit, like two houses. And it just ravaged by flood. It came down out of the mountains, and it just really decimated parts of the city. And just watching watching these videos. In fact, I have a very good friend who it went down like the area I live. I'm sorry, I'm going to digress a little bit. And I'm about a minute from downtown. And then it went into downtown, went along the backside. And then where there's a low spot, because downtown's on a hill going down towards the US 60, it went along the backside. And at the lowest part, it hit the buildings from behind and blew through them and came out the front. And people were saying that the water was up to their chest within a matter of moments.
Wow, that is scary.
Yeah, he was eating dinner at a restaurant that was just a half a block from where this was happening, and heard the screaming and went outside, and there was a 16-year-old girl that was being rushed away. And he's a big guy, and he went in and saved her. And they did. They had they still have search and rescue out.
Oh wow!
Because the silt, I helped with the cleanup. The silt is so fine; it's like quicksand when you're going. And honestly, the water came in and it went through and left. So the buildings are left with mud. Like one of the older establishments that was built in the 1880s. I was talking to the owner yesterday. He has 3 feet of mud in his basement.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that stuff, it's so hard to get out. And welcome, Creativity Boot Camp, formerly known as 3D Braining. Thanks for joining us. But it's, for people not familiar with that area, it's very mountainous, and it started kind of as a mining encampment, if I'm remembering right. And so there's like a bunch of mines through there. It used to be Phelps Dodge, now what is it, McMoran, whatever. I should remember what they are because I do business with them.
Copper and Freeport,
and Freeport McMoran, and but it's real, and it's got like a tunnel. Like if you go in between, it's got like one of those tunnels. It's a really cool. And then what Rita was telling me last night, which I did not know, is that there's like an underground, like there used to be tunnels that connected the buildings together.
Yeah.
And those are sealed off.
Yeah, those are sealed off. In fact, the same establishment that has the 3 feet of mud in the basement, about a year ago, they had asked if we would come in and investigate. And he took me down to, they call them the tunnels, where the tunnels were. And they had an underground tunnel system because back in the mining days, that when the city was first formed, the second-class citizens, which were the Apache, Mexican Americans, the Asians, they were forced to use the underground tunnel systems to move about the city. And then it was like in the 70s, the city went and cemented them off to all the buildings. So it would just be really interesting to see, because they certainly couldn't fill all those tunnels with cement that, they're probably full of water or mud right now.
Or who knows what's in there. Like the building next to me, they called it the slave walk. And it was they would kidnap all these Apaches and different natives. And they weren't allowed to show their face to the whiteys, and so it was I didn't realize, that they had, until I met an Apache medicine woman, and her grandmother had been like kidnapped as a slave.
Wow.
And it was really bad. But I didn't know about those tunnels down in Globe. But tell them about when you were driving back and the bell thing. That was just so. I thought about that all last night, and I had to text those two and tell them she's got quite a story. It's very interesting and kind of disturbing too at the same time.
And it gets even more interesting because I went last night at about 10 o'clock. Part of the downtown is barricaded off, the lower portion. The upper portion, businesses are open. I encourage people to go shopping, eat at the restaurants. So many of these businesses donated so much money into having food and, and just donating money to the cleanup effort. So I'm really trying to support that these businesses start getting business again. But I went out at about 10 o'clock last night. The police officers are, Rangers, Arizona Rangers and state troopers are where the street is barricaded off, which is the lower portion of Broad Street where the flooding happened, the worst flooding. And I went at about 10 o'clock last night. I was like, hey guys, would you like a fresh pot of coffee? And they were thrilled. So yeah, I went home and filled up my giant carafe with fresh coffee and brought them coffee and put a spread out on, put the back of the bed of my truck down and made them a little spread of coffee and such. And was talking with them quite a bit. So I was able to get a little bit more information about this incident.
Oh, okay. Well, start from tell them the whole story, and I'm waiting with bated breath for what you found out.
The flood happened on Friday, and on Saturday we had an investigation of a building we had never been into. Someplace that we're considering having investigations at, and they had quite a bit of paranormal experience. That's why they called us, and it was right on that main street. No damage from the flood at all. And so we were there until about midnight. By the time I get everything packed up, it's almost 1 o'clock. And there was an area in my house where there's a bridge that's at the bottom of that hill. And that's kind of like where all the water converged and then went whoosh out to the city.
Wow.
So I was, and it had been closed, but by Saturday night they had the road open to, so because it's a quicker way for me to get home. I mean, I have many ways to get home, but that's the quickest route. And I was a little curious too. I was being a looky-loo, I'll admit. And so I'm driving on this road. Now, I had people help pack up equipment, and I had a brand new piece of equipment. It's called a dead bell. And it works off electromagnetic, just like a lot of other equipment does. And it was in its box on the front seat of my car. I didn't know it was in its box on the front seat of my car because people had helped me pack up. Or just
and are those things that look like those bells, like at a hotel, like when you're in for service?
Yeah, you want me to go grab it really quick?
Like, but
grab it.
Give me just a moment.
Yeah, that's it.
It's kind
so
of
this is oh, go ahead, Trey.
It's sort of a new equipment that a lot of the ghost hunters are using now. Is
right.
This bell, and then when spirits are around, the bell goes off. Oh, okay. So here it is.
Okay. Let's see. Okay. Wow. Okay. This is like a little bell. Okay.
You're gonna hear. So just
yeah. If there's something going on around,
like there's and so it's hooked up to an electromagnetic sensor. So if it has that, hits that electromagnetic, or I should say the energy field hits it, you're going to hear that, right?
Yeah.
So, and it's rechargeable. Boy, they're getting smart about equipment these days. And so the person they didn't know to turn it off or anything. And I don't know what's in the front seat of my truck because it's in its box and other things had been put on top of it. And, I'm driving home and I decide I'm going to go past this bridge where there was a lot of flooding. And we know that there were cars that were, you saw the video. It was just, it was massive. And I get up to where the intersection is and I have one of my team members behind me. And all of a sudden this bell starts doing this.
Wow. That's disturbing.
And I didn't even know it was in I didn't know it was in the front of my car. And I didn't know it was in the front seat because a lot of equipment had been put in the bed of my truck.
Right. Wow.
What is that? And then all of a sudden I got this horrible feeling. And I tell people, I am not a psychic. We work with a wonderful psychic. I am not a psychic. To me, I've experienced paranormal all my life. It's like
you
a story.
You are psychic. I'm sorry. You are. You tune into everything.
More empathic. And so I sitting there and all of a sudden it's like this feeling of, can I swear?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It was like,
yes.
It was like, what the hell happened? Why am I here? Like this horrible confusion and anxiety.
You're picking it up on the energy. Yeah.
And I was like, and I'm sitting there and the woman behind me, she thought I got stuck in mud.
Wow.
I'm just sitting there like, what the heck? And this bell's ringing.
Wow.
Oh my God.
This feeling comes over me.
Right.
And I was like, I need to get up the hill. And so I turn and I'm home in less than 10 seconds from making that turn, and it stops. The moment I start going up the hill, it stops.
Right.
And this is an area, there's not like a whole lot of anything out there. There's train tracks. No, is there? I can't even remember if there's train tracks out there, but there's just the bridge. And I got back to the house and I was like so confused. And I told them, I said, because they're like, why did you stop? And I said, you would not believe what happened. You would not.
No.
And then I went yesterday. I was helping at the train depot a little bit because that's one of our locations, and they did get flooded. They got like 3 feet of water that rushed through. They've actually done an amazing job. They're doing an amazing job getting it cleaned up. And I was telling the director what happened, and she goes, "Oh," she said, I think I heard a report that they have cadaver dogs there today." And I said, well, that doesn't surprise me. And, and it's not even something that I would have posted about because I don't want to. I mean, it's everything is so raw and fresh right now. They have people missing they haven't even found. And so then last night when I was talking to these police officers, I said, hey, and they knew I had my shirt on. It's so funny because I pulled up and I hopped out of my truck with the coffee, and one of the police officers runs up to me and he goes, I follow you. And so then he got to talking because he really believes in the paranormal. He's had a lot of experiences as a police officer with it.
Right.
And, so he's telling all the other, there were like 8 of them there. And I'm showing, of course, I pull out my phone and I start showing him pictures, and I'm telling them the history of, all the different buildings that were around and what we've been into and what we've seen. And so we built a rapport. And then I was like, hey, I understand if you can't tell me. I'm not going to be butthurt. But I had this happen yesterday. And I explained to him, and I said, and I understand that did they find something at this bridge? And he goes, well, I can't say if they found anything, but yes, they did. The cadaver dogs did pick up on something, and search and rescue is out there. And the bridge had been closed all day yesterday because of it. So, so yeah, it's
someone died during the flooding. Yeah. And they were trying to talk to them.
And what I found so disturbing about it is that, that sense of where am I, what's going on.
Yeah, that's what happens when, she's picking up on what the trauma of the person.
Exactly. Yeah. And like she was saying, how this storm just like, poof, it was so
just came all of a sudden.
People didn't, fortunately you listened to that inner voice that told you get home, because otherwise you may have been missing.
Yeah. Had I not listened to that, and it was so weird. And had I not listened to that, I would have been at, in Miami, and the storm would have started rolling in even more. And I would have said, hey, I would have dropped off the food, go home. And I would have been on the 60, and it tore down the 60, down parts of it. And, and that's where some people were on the 60 and they got washed away into the creek that runs. And they're finding, this went there through Globe, through Miami, into wheat fields, which is like down and then off of Lake Roosevelt. So so when you see the water, and I know it showed a lot of the vehicles, like there was a Ford dealership right on the 60, and everything is just, there's a few cars in the lot, but they're just destroyed. Everything else was washed away. And they had, I want to say they said they had several hundred propane tanks, the big 100-gallon propane tanks that just from a company up the hill, because it all came down a canyon, and they were just like missiles in the water.
That's
some started, blowing up, and it was like it.
How many people do they think died during this flooding?
They've announced 3 so far. They're kind of keeping it
quiet.
If the families have announced it,
right.
But other than that, they're not.
Trying to keep hope alive. Yeah, I can understand that.
about it right now.
Right. Yeah.
But
That, they often do that.
there's last I had saw, and I hope I'm wrong. There was like a teenage boy was missing.
Mhm.
You'll see, people posting, "Hey, I haven't seen my father since Friday," or "I haven't
Yeah.
heard
Wow.
from him," or "Has anyone heard?"
Yeah, they might not know that they were driving the car, or that where
Yeah.
they were.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I
Exactly.
mean, even the winery up in this area, because they have the wine. What do you? I guess the field or whatever you want to call it, where they have the
The
vines.
vineyards, yeah.
The vineyard.
Vineyard.
Yeah.
And at the base of it, they had like a petting zoo, and their animals got washed away.
Oh no, that's
it was
sad.
just
Yeah, I'm
Wow.
waiting to hear back from some of the ranchers out there because, I mean, those canyons, when that water rolls down, I used to live in Cave Creek. I was a creeker once upon a time, and I was friends with Jeff Platt, who was in my writers group, and he was like a naturalist, and he wrote about nature and everything, and he would go out camping and stuff, and he was camped by a wash. And all of a sudden, this water just comes down. It's like
Yeah.
sunny.
It's
And it
dangerous.
just
Yeah.
comes down from the mountains where there's a
Right.
storm, and
Right.
it killed him.
yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
I mean,
Wow.
these things, it is insane.
And I completely understand, because my home in the valley, I go between the valley and Globe. My home in the valley is up in the Rio Verde foothills. I see Cave Creek from my back patio.
It's a
And
magic area.
we have a 6-foot, and we're on high land. We have a 6-foot wash in front of our house. And one day it was sunny out, and I was home, and I thought, the heck? I mean, because everyone out there is on some acreage, and it's like, what is in my yard? Is there like dump trucks or something in my yard, in
Wow.
my property? And I go out, and the creek was just, I should say the wash was just roaring, and it's even dry at my house.
Right.
And
Right.
we had a footbridge over it, washed that away. It went over the top of it. Fortunately the property just keeps going up, so the house was safe. But yeah, it's those.
It's kind of like what happened in Texas with that campsite where
Yes.
those kids all
Yes, you're
got
right.
killed.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
you don't know what's coming. And again, this wall of water came so fast,
Yeah.
and it was just, yeah, there
Sounds terrifying. Sounds
there
very
was no preparing for it. There was no preparing for it. I mean,
Right.
it started raining, and it was a matter of 15 minutes. My husband called me and said Globe has had a flash flood. That's
Wow.
when water came down. In
Right.
fact, we have a weather station on. My husband's such a nerd. He has his weather stations.
I can understand why if you live out there. Yeah.
Yeah, we got 3.5 inches of rain.
Wow.
That's a
Yep.
lot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
that
it's
was-
in like 15 minutes. Yeah, that's insane.
And
So
we have the fires so close out here in 21, and so
Mhm.
the burn scars. There's
Yeah.
nothing there to.
Right, so that makes it worse. Yeah.
And I drove yesterday. There was actually, when we were looking at houses out here, there was a house that my husband really wanted. It was on a little bit of land. It had, the river ran through the property, and it was at the bottom of the canyon. And I said,
Oh wow.
I said,
No.
no, we're not. I'm not living in the bottom of a canyon with a
With-
river in my.
No, that's insane. That sounds
And I
right.
and I
Yeah.
drove past that area yesterday, up through the canyon, and that river just ripped apart so many homes.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
sad.
they declared a. So, Rita, for the people who may not have heard of Arizona Ghost Adventures, can you tell the audience a little bit how you got into ghost hunting?
Yeah,
I mean,
that'd
you
be-
work in healthcare, and then you're hunting ghosts at night.
So, and I'm going to give us a little correction. It's AZ Ghost Adventures.
Okay.
Yeah, AZ.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
because there's so many companies out here with such similar names.
I
I've often thought, oh, should I change it? This was the name of the company when I bought it, and it had its social media site and business license and everything. And I was like, ugh, I just can't deal with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've experienced paranormal all my life. When I was a kid, you see things, and you're just that's what you see. And my daughter, nothing. My son, the same as me. And my husband has experienced paranormal, but he's an engineer and he refuses to believe it.
Right.
So I will, that's fine.
Right.
Because you can't ever push anything like that on somebody, right?
No.
And I mean, when I was younger, I remember like things would turn on and off, a lot of energy. The weird thing is, in talking with a lot of people, I did a lot of sleepwalking. I still do. If I have like relationship with these people, I had a near-death experience at the age of 7. I had a really bad accident.
Wow.
And as I was a teenager, that's when I really realized that I'm kind of seeing things that people aren't.
Right.
Yeah.
Can I ask you something?
Apparitions. Yes.
I thought you said you weren't psychic.
Well, she's really psychic, and she says she's not.
I'm listening to this litany of psychic.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. That's a really common thing, though. I've noticed with people that are just naturally really psychic. A lot of times they won't own it for some weird reason. I don't really know why that is.
Oh, because we expect it to be something unusual, and to them, it's normal.
Yeah. Well, and I'm a firm believer in like energy. Like when I was younger, and it used to really hack my husband off. I'd walk into rooms, and like light bulbs would explode.
Yeah. Yes, I've had that.
And or toys would turn on, like my kids' toys would turn on, and things like that, and the TV would turn on, and the stereo would turn on. And I still have to this day, those old electric pencil sharpeners.
Yeah.
I still have it. It works. They don't make things now like they used to make things.
Right. True.
I always had it on the counter when my kids were younger in the kitchen, and that would turn on. So, and and people would come to my house, and they would see, children in my home that weren't there. And, so.
Can I ask you a question, Rita? Have you had the experience where everywhere you lived, this followed you around? Same. Yeah. I have a theory about that, but anyway, yeah.
Hey, can you guys give me 1 second? Hold on 1 second.
Sure.
What's your theory?
Yeah.
My theory is that, you know how people say there are places that are portals,
Yes.
I think some people are like portals, and that they themselves attract the phenomenon. Yeah. And it's wherever they are, there's phenomenon.
Yeah.
Because I've had that experience. It doesn't matter where I've been or where I've lived, even in my dorm room, you know what I mean? That was a new building. I've lived in almost always new properties. It doesn't matter.
The earth is old. It doesn't matter how old the building is.
Yeah, but it's not like I've never lived in like an old house. I've always lived in a lot of times lived in new construction, and still there's phenomenon, and even sometimes being in other places with people who are having intermittent phenomena, but if I go there, there'll often be phenomenon that will kind of appear. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's certain people are portals, just like certain places are portals. I don't know what that's all about. Maybe something about your energy field that kind of opens up that sort of.
Well, and her near-death experience at an early age.
That could be part of it. Yeah.
Too.
And the interesting thing is, and I don't talk about it too much, is my great grandmother was a serial killer in Chicago.
What?
She was part of the Bluebeard clique. And
what your great grandfather was?
Great grandmother.
Your grandmother.
Grandmother in Chicago.
Yeah, there's a book out about. Yeah, and she.
What was her name?
She Anna Kozlowski, and she was. The book was written. There was a book written about it. I'm sorry, I got hot. I had to turn my air.
It's okay. Anna Kozlowski. Was she part of the thing with the devil and the new? Is that the story you're talking? Was it like a turn of century?
No, Bluebeard.
Oh no, this one here. I'll go get the book. Hold on a second.
Okay.
Oh, right on. Oh, she's
small world, huh?
Wow. So Anna Kozlowski, I've heard that name. Is she?
I have too, but I don't know.
I can't remember how though. Anna Kozlowski.
There were three cousins. And the most infamous one is Tilly Klimek. Oops, let's see.
Okay.
This.
Tilly Klimek. Okay. Wow.
And that is my great cousin.
Okay.
And there were 3 of them, and they would say that they were seers.
Oh wow.
Now they came from Poland, and they lived in Chicago in an area called Little Poland. I grew up in the south of Chicago in a Polish.
I'm from Chicago too. Yeah.
And they were called the Bluebeard Clique, and they claimed to be seers. And of course, husbands started passing for insurance money and neighborhood animals and children, and so they may have been, but they were also a little bit sociopaths.
Well, a little bit, yeah. Big time, yeah.
When you say that, a couple of generations doesn't seem that far.
No, it's crazy.
I did not find out about this until I was an adult, because family kind of.
So what is that called?
Tilly. Okay, it's called the premonition poison. Wow.
Oh, wow.
And they used arsenic.
Yeah. Right. That's a common serial killer, female serial killer.
I didn't find out about this until like 5 years ago.
How did you find out about it?
My cousin is really deep into genealogy.
Oh wow!
So she was pulling all the things from Ellis Island, and then she started interviewing family members. And before my great grandmother passed, she interviewed her on it. And the great grandmother said she was always told when she went to their house never to eat food.
Wow!
I mean, they would poison children for being loud.
Oh my god!
Oh my god!
And from what I understand, so there were 3 of them. Tilly was the one. Here we go. She, again, cousin. She was the one that went to jail. My great grandmother got out on a technicality. Apparently, her son worked for the newspaper and spelled her name wrong, and so it caused this confusion with something, and so she was able to get out on a technicality.
Wow.
Oh my
the
god.
funny thing is, I read this and I was like, why did they never contact the family about this? And because if you look at the family tree, it kind of stops with her, and then but the cousins had family. So yeah. So how did I get on the subject? Oh, you were talking about being a portal. So, so were they seers? They claim.
I don't know. I mean, I think, you know what? I have an experience that maybe bridges this, where I was coming home it was probably about 1 a.m. to drive a friend of mine home. Is in the Chicago area, in a suburb of Chicago. There was no one on the street at all. Absolutely not a car in sight the entire trip. We pull up to a stop sign, and there's just this vibe, like serial killer, evil, kind of really like predatory thing coming off the car. I look over there. I'm like, tell my friend, do not make eye contact with the person in that car. And she, of course, she looks right at him, makes fucking contact with him. And he's sort of following us, right? So I'm sort of speeding around trying to get rid of the guy, because I'm thinking, I can't drop her off at her house with this psycho. Like he'll kill her. So I'm driving around going like 100 miles an hour. He's going 15 miles an hour. He's not. So I pull down this place. I hide in this alley, and who's coming the other direction? Totally. I don't know how he would never been able to find me, other than he was psychic. I'm pulling in this way. He's pulling in that way. And again, I start like freaking out and trying to, lose him. And then the thought comes to me, I'm going to drive to the police department. I'm going to drive to the police department. And I'm going to start like, honking my horn and freaking out and making a big scene. And then it stopped. And then he left, and I dropped her off. And I was like, that guy was using the dark side of the force. You know what I'm saying? He was a predator, and there's a certain like predatory psychic ability, that some people have. So I don't think psychic ability is necessarily can be bad or good. You can use it for good or evil.
That's true.
And so do you believe?
Because we started with this, how did I get into it? So I had that happening. So I've always had an interest in it. My house in Houston was a brand new build, and it was probably one of the most active homes. I mean, with poltergeist activity and people seeing things, and everything was just so heightened. Now, granted, it was in the 80s. The
Mhm.
economy was horrible, a lot of stress going on, newly
Right.
married, had kids. So that whole energy is heightened, and I
Yeah.
find when I go on my investigations, it took me about a year to figure this out. If I get like really antsy
Mhm.
before
Yeah.
it, it's
The
going to be an
poltergeist.
active evening. It's going to be an active evening.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah. That's interrelated, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, so I mean, it's just been a lifelong thing. And in fact, I even had an opportunity last year to meet Jason Hawes, and I was talking with him, and I said, I just need to let you know, I was afraid to talk about this until your show came out and
Mm.
normalized it. And even people that came to my home and would have these things happen, I'd be like, I don't know. And I mean, they
Mm.
would straight up come to me and say, "Is your house haunted?" Uh,
Right. Right.
so, and I knew I had spirits of family members around me, because people would see, especially one as a child. I had a young girl come by, and she spent the night. Her and her sister, they were traveling through Texas, and she said the next morning she woke up and she was sleeping in my son's room, and she said, "Is your house haunted?"
Mhm.
And I was like, "Why do you ask?" And she goes, "Well, because we have wear glasses." And she said, "And I sat up to put my glasses on the nightstand. I had laid down in bed, but then I had to sit up to put the glasses on the nightstand. And there was like a street light that shone into the bedroom. So you had that little bit of light in there." And she goes, "And there was a little kid standing at the foot of my bed." And she thought it was my son at first.
Right.
And she said, and they stepped back. She goes, and they just stood there looking at me, and then they stepped backwards and disappeared.
Wow.
And I pulled out a family photo, and it had multiple people in it, multiple children, and she went straight to the person that I thought it was.
Wow.
And yeah, so it's 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 interesting.
So
I think that my mission
we had a
statement. I think. Oh, I'm sorry.
we just had a comment
Oh,
from Annabella. She says she just looked up how to clean up after a flood. It sounds hard and dangerous with
I'm
critical
sure it
things
is.
to know and do right away.
yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
And
very
that's
true.
where the city is fortunate is, unlike a hurricane where there's standing water for days, this went through. I mean, it just went
Right.
through. And the big thing now is the mud. The
Right.
mud is in there, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So anyway, going on to your story there, I'm sorry about that,
No, that's
but
that's
it
okay.
was a good comment, a very good
It was a
comment.
very good comment, yeah. Um, so yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like my purpose with this is to, and I say this on all my investigations, is to learn their story and to get it out, because their story is important, and it just as our story currently is important. And even working in healthcare, I encounter many
I'm
end of life
sure.
patients.
I'm sure you do. Yeah.
Yeah, and in fact, I've had one recently, and this was it was a disturbing one, because normally they're very happy and they're seeing something and they're talking to someone. But this one, the gentleman came into they brought him into my, I work in occupational therapy, and they brought him into my therapy gym, and he was just so upset. And I said, "What happened? What's wrong?" And he goes, "I saw it. I saw it." I was like, "You saw what?" "It was big and it was black, and it
Oh,
was
wow.
it was on the ceiling." And he was terrified. And
Mm.
that's when I always go
What
tell
was
parents,
it?
"Hey, you know what? Call the family and have the family," and they all know what I do.
Right.
You probably want to call the family and have the family come visit. He passed the next day.
Right. Wow.
I have never had
Wow.
a patient describe it as a big black thing that they're
Yeah,
terrified.
that's not a good passing right there. Yeah, that's going to be a difficult passing.
Well, that reminds me of that thing when we were doing like this consciousness experiment for a while
Hmm.
of just like throwing our consciousness out. So I would sit in the back, and I saw this big. That's I just immediately thought of it when you said this big black thing. I don't know what it was. There were cats that went running away. I mean, and I saw it like go down the alley and went like past City Hall and then down into this neighborhood. Well, before we knew it, it blew out all a transformer down there. So half the
wow.
town had no. That's what it made me think of, that black thing that you
Yeah.
were
I've
talking about.
I've
Hello,
seen the
peace on
black,
earth.
like black blobs or like that kind of thing on the ceiling before someone gets really sick.
Yeah.
You know, but if that was the transition point where that person saw that, that seems like that person needed some. I hope that person had some kind of guidance on the crossover. Did anybody come and try to help them to transition?
I'm not allowed to have people, again, in healthcare. I have to be very,
I know, careful. No, I know. Calling the family, maybe that helped him, or I hope.
even now when I talk about my patients, I can't say like their
Yeah,
name.
of course not.
Right.
No, of course
Yeah.
not. Yeah.
But that's
I
when
mean-
I told them, but the nurses know, and I'm like, call the family and have the family, and they do it. It's like, have the
Right.
family come in, because, you know, is it something that was generated by maybe he knew it was happening and it was generated by his fear, and discomfort with, you know, the transition that was about to happen, and, you know, and being alone, not having family around. So his family came in.
Yeah, not everybody has a good experience in the transition, though. You know that. I'm sure you know that.
Majority of the time, but I've had so
Yeah.
many experiences where they're just
Positive, very positive. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
I had a lady about a year ago, and I walked in, and I work PRN, so I'm as needed. I'm not there every day, and I
Right.
hadn't been at this location for about a week, and because I was going between the two cities working, and I had this new patient I had never seen, and she had had a stroke, and she was neglectful on one side, which means that they don't even recognize that it exists, and she was
Oh.
nonverbal.
Wow.
And so I was sitting on the side where she was neglectful, because I was just working on her hand to make sure that she didn't get a contracture. She had her head turned away from me, which is typical with that. But I'm talking to her, and all of a sudden she turns her head to me and gets
Mhm.
a big smile on her face. And
Yeah.
she was in her 90s, gets this big smile on her face and said, "I had lunch with my father today, and it was
Wow.
Uh-huh.
And
Wow.
I'm like, what? And I'm looking at my notes like, what? Did
Yeah.
I read this?
Right. Right. Right.
But I mean, she presented as neglectful to that side when I got in there. And I'm like,
Right.
I'm not the right person. And and I've learned over the years what questions to ask. And I said, that was how nice. And I said, and then she just looked at the ceiling again. It's always like where it's on
Yeah.
the ceiling.
Yes.
And she just had this huge smile on her face, and she goes, I don't know what they're saying, but it sounds so beautiful.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Mm.
And so I stayed with her because I had a lot of patients to see that day. And I went to the nurse. I said, you need to call her family.
Right.
And sure enough, she passed the next day.
Right.
So to be able to, I always say, how fortunate am I to have these spirits come to me because they want their story out, but B, to be able to experience that with them.
Right.
And, maybe, I don't know, maybe in my next life, I'll be a hospice nurse. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I talked to a lot of hospice nurses, and they know all the things you're saying is like, those are the signs, they know it's coming. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I just think some people are like, oh my God, aren't you terrified of it? And I'm like, no, I think I'm fortunate.
Right.
I get to, have
Help
these.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've had some, like at the jail, the 1910 jail, we do have a spirit coming through of a arsonist, and
Well,
he's
that's
not
not fun.
He's not a guy. And,
No.
and my background is really in behavioral and mental health, and I've worked in psych hospitals, and this he started coming through on STs, and I mean, we know his name. We have a photograph of him.
Wow.
And standing there, and
Right.
in an area where there was no one standing, and it's not a shadow. And
Right.
he comes through, and you can tell he like gets revved up. I'm going to put it politely, revved up by
Mhm.
things, these awful things.
Part of arsons are,
Yeah.
that's their
And
thing.
I know, and I don't know if he A comes through because B, I can get it, or I should say A, I can get it, or B, because I always believe in controlling it, control the situation. And I'm very matter of fact, very flat affect. You have to be like that with psych patients,
Mhm.
and of that nature. And, but I'm getting his story out still. And,
Right.
Right.
and I come to it from a point of, I don't know why he was like that. I don't know what happened to him. I'm not
Right.
gonna, I'm not gonna go in. I get so upset when paranormal investigators go in and they're yelling and screaming at the
Yeah,
Yes.
that's stupid.
Provoking. Yes.
them.
Yeah.
And and I have seen some people. I have worked with people that have had some horrific things happen to them in life, and
Yes.
that's their coping strategy. And I'm not making any excuses for it. I think it's these people need to be locked up if that's what how they're going to be.
Right.
But it's a coping strategy with a lot of these people because of what happened to them.
Have you
And
ever had any physical kind of negative experiences with ghosts? Like, you know what I'm saying?
I haven't been scratched. Now, when I was at Bullion Plaza with Ghost Adventures, and Jay was standing next to me in the basement, and I told him, I said, it's an elemental down there. It's very strong. It doesn't like men. Be respectful. And he was standing right next to me, and he had his hands on his shoulder
Mhm.
camera like this on the grips. And all of a sudden he goes, ow. And I mean, he was
Mhm.
literally right next to me. It's on TV. And
Right.
you see something scratched him from here all the way down, like a cat claw.
Right.
And what they didn't show was the scratch went all the way down to the middle of his chest.
Wow.
And so I've had things happen to people around me.
But you've never had it happen to you directly then?
No, I was at the Sally house about 6 months ago.
Oh, really?
And yeah.
That
And
place is probably with all these people doing stuff in there. I've wondered what that energy is like.
yeah,
Intense.
that was probably one of the most intense buildings I've ever been in.
Yeah.
And even another group said, we're going to, give you this black salt protection. And
Mhm.
I saw a young boy in the kitchen, hiding in the kitchen. And when we first got there, I had a bracelet that said God is great in Morse code. I had worn it for 2 years, never took it off.
And it
I was
broke.
there within 5 minutes. It was on the ground.
Yeah.
But the class was still working.
Right. Mhm.
And so I would have to say that's the only place where I pulled my rosary out of my purse.
What
I
is
think
that
part
place?
of it there? That's isn't
Yeah.
that the axe murder house?
No, it's the Sally house.
house is the other one. Okay,
Mhm.
yes.
So the
Where
thing is,
they moved up. Didn't he move out or something because the family was seeing? Where is the Sally house? What
the
state is
Sally
that?
house is in Kansas City.
Yeah, that's Kansas City, and
Mm.
it's like
Yeah.
super haunted.
Yeah.
I've
And
never
there was
heard of
like
it.
a dad and his wife and the kid, and there were like all kinds of weird things were happening, and they moved out of there.
And
And
Nice.
so apparently someone came in and said, well, it's the spirit of a young girl and she's angry. And and they have all
from a
this
botched hysterectomy, or I mean a botched
appendicitis.
appendicitis thing
Yeah.
from the 1800s or something.
And
Yeah.
the doctor lived there. And I'm going to differ from that story a little bit.
Yeah, I know.
I got from it, though, is there was an old lady who lived there, and we know, and she died on the stairs going down into the basement. I would not go into that basement because my teammate kept getting sick when she'd go into the house. And
Right.
I wasn't going to go into the basement by myself alone. When I'd open the door, it was like that God voice again, but dark.
Right.
Out of here. And I'm like, okay. And safety's first.
Yeah,
So,
right.
and I had plenty of time investigating the rest of the house. But when, again, I say it's like a story going on in my head. When I was getting the old lady coming through, and they say it's a young girl that's angry. What I believe is it's the old lady, but she had dementia. And a lot of people with dementia revert back to a childhood state.
That makes sense.
And
Yeah.
and they get very angry too.
Yeah, that's true. They do.
Well, do you
Yeah.
think
She-
it's
she- you said she-
intensified though too? Because all these people are in there, and you have some of them provoking and being,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, and so it's just like whooping up the energy and
Yeah.
pulling in even more stuff. With just watching on TV is the sense I had from that.
And I think when she died, when she passed, that she was in that reverted state, and they do
Mhm.
they get so frustrated and so angry, and that's just what I was getting. I was like, it's this no, it's the lady who lived here. And when they see the little child or get the little child coming through, it's actually the old lady in her reverted state. That's what she
Yeah,
Yeah.
her
that
in
makes sense.
her mind. I mean, physically she was an old lady, but in her mind and her
She was a little kid, right? And that's what she projects,
little
right?
kid, yeah.
Yeah,
She was
right.
a
That
little
makes
kid.
sense.
And I had I went into that house. I try not to learn too much about a location before I go into it. I just want to
Yeah.
see what I get, and then I would get jam with the history.
Right.
So yeah, that's what I. But I did. There was a little boy in the kitchen. It was the weirdest thing. I walked into the kitchen, and there was, it's one of those kitchens where it has a new refrigerator, but it doesn't really fit in the kitchen because the kitchens aren't meant for that. So
Right.
there's a big gap between the refrigerator and the countertop. And I walked in, just really quick, and I looked, and there's a little boy like this, and I could see the blonde hair. I think it was a boy. To me, it seemed like a boy. And then it was one of those, what? You kind of blink and it was gone.
Right.
So, but
Yeah.
I didn't get anything bad from that. But I did get the lady was angry. And then during an Estes, I kept getting that a nurse was coming through. So yeah, that kind of validates, it being a doctor's office. We're planning on going back again in February because to me, it's like an unfinished investigation.
Right.
Hmm.
Now,
down into
you
the
sent a
basement.
couple pictures. Do you want me to show these?
Oh, sure. Let's see what you got.
They were on your email. I wasn't quite sure what we. Hopefully, it'll show
Oh, wow.
okay.
So that's
I
me.
noticed that light up there by your friend.
Yeah, that's
ahead.
me. Bethany on the left. That's my other lead investigator. And then on the right, the gal with the glasses, that's Lori Hines, and she's our resident psychic medium. And she
Oh,
actually does
okay.
work with missing
Hi,
persons
Bethany.
cases. And she's it's everyone on my team, and we've got some more people on our team, but everyone on my team has a gift. They bring something to the table. So when you get us all together, it's like the perfect storm of getting evidence.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what we were actually doing. That's from a bar that we got called into to investigate, and they had it decorated because it was Halloween time.
Sure. That's what it looks like.
And the news came in to do a segment on it.
That's cool.
Wow. Okay, let me see if I can find the thing. It's white, and so I can't find the thing that I'm supposed to move on here. Let's see. There we go.
So that's me in the jail, and it's just that's the 1910 jail. We're probably up in the area. That's where Mike the arsonist. So the bottom of the jail actually came from the Yuma Territorial Prison in one piece.
Oh, and that place looked horrible.
Yeah, and then the gallows used to be on the area outside the jail, like on the side of where the current courthouse is. And the jail has a bridge that goes to the courthouse called the Bridge of Sighs. But when people come to investigate, they can go in the cells. And on most of my investigations, that we call it an overnight option, because I don't want people having to drive home on the mountain at nighttime. And so they can stay all night and they can sleep in the cells or, investigate in the cells. I mean, as long as they're respectful to all the other investigators, that's fine.
Wow. You have a question here. And also, folks, you could call it if you need.
That is
with a
definitely
question,
paranormal activity. Yeah.
288-2942. So, okay, so Peace on Earth has a question for you. I went on a tour to the Winchester Mansion in San Jose, California.
Yeah, I've been there.
At one point, I felt like an elephant was stepping on my chest. Is that considered a paranormal activity or event?
Yes.
I'll let
I
you
would say
experts
yes.
take that.
I would say yes. I would say yes. I think she was feeling some kind that the pressure was some kind of ghost, some kind of spirit activity. That's what I would take it to be. But what do you
What
think?
about-
Unless she has a
Well,
condition.
as a licensed clinician, I have to say, first, make sure you're not having a heart attack.
Well, yeah, obviously. Right.
But yeah, we've had people like they just have a hard time breathing, or they
Mhm.
get nauseous, or
Yep.
they get some sort of physical event coming on. But
Yeah.
whenever there's chest pressure or left arm pressure or anything like that, I tell people, okay, first thing we're gonna do is have you sit down, and leave the go find a spot to sit too, to see if you can. Again, I was talking earlier about control. And Denise, do you agree with me on that? Just to kind of, sometimes it's best to just step away from the situation or the room that you're in, that you're feeling that, and see if it goes away.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what it's probably the easiest thing to do under those situations, to break the energetic link and kind of, you don't have to do it by leaving, but you can, and that works just as well as kind of putting up a barrier. But I've had the experience where a ghost reached into my chest and tried to give me a heart attack more than one time, with different ghosts. So they can do that. So
Oh, yeah.
you can tell it's not like a real heart attack by the fact that it's in contact with that kind of spiritual thing. And then if you shut it down, it stops. So like you can physically get out of the room, or you can kind of create a barrier. I mean, something you just have to kind of push it away basically with your will, like get the fuck away from me kind of vibe.
Yeah, that's the whole control piece.
Yes, that's control. Yeah, you have to have boundaries. Very strong.
I would have to say the worst that I've felt is where it's like something, and the first time I ever felt this was at the Copper Queen Hotel in Bisbee. And is her name Juliet Lowe? And I was kind of sitting off to the side. So I was working, it was before I bought the company, but I was working with the company. And I sat off to the side by the bathroom, and so everyone could be around the equipment and the bed, because the room was not large. And they were asking questions because apparently they say she committed suicide. And
is that the Girl Scout leader?
No, it was
Juliet Lowe started the Girl Scout.
This is another Juliet.
Oh, sorry.
Or Julia. Maybe it's Julia. I'm sorry. And no, not the Girl Scout leader.
She's haunting the jail.
So, but I'm sitting there like by myself next to the bathroom. The room made like an L shape, and all of a sudden, and I've never had this happen before, it felt like something went through me. That was intense.
Yeah.
And I was just sitting there, and out of my mouth I said, she didn't commit suicide, she was murdered, and it was made to look like suicide. It was just one of those.
You knew. Yeah, she let you know. Yeah.
And all of a sudden all the equipment started going off. And,
wow.
And that's where I was saying it's like a movie going on in my head. And I just kind of spit it out as it's coming in my head.
Right.
Yeah, that was, but I've had that happen 2 times where it felt like something went through me.
Someone came through you, yeah.
And that's a weird feeling. That's a really weird feeling.
Howdy, Joan. Howdy, everybody. Phones work tonight if you guys have questions and want to call. I'll bring the pictures back up. And the number is
I know, totally.
928-288-2942. So, okay, let's go to the next one. And Rita, I pulled a couple from the last time too for new people who may not have seen those. But okay, so this was what you said the other night. So
yeah, this is me doing an SD session in one of the jail cells.
And I don't know what that is.
What's an SD session?
Sure.
I know what they are, but
it was developed in Estes Park, Colorado, and you can see I'm blindfolded and I have on noise canceling headphones, and I'm plugged directly into a spirit box, and so I cannot hear the questions that are being asked. I cannot see what is going on. They did it so you couldn't have anything like polluting your answers, what you're saying. What they did point out when they did this method, and it's not that old, is that when you have your sense of sight taken away and you're wearing these headphones and you're, the spirit box going on, your other senses are heightened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, that perception. So you can like feel someone touching you or someone walking around you. Or I've been in the jail where I was out in a hall.
I wouldn't want to do that myself. I'd be too freaked out to do that.
And this is where that comes in.
Yeah.
The hall, and I mean, I could feel something rushing me behind me.
Mm-hmm.
And this is how that arsonist I was telling you about comes through quite a bit. And I actually have one woman, and she does it. Her name's Melissa, and you would swear she's channeling.
Yeah, she probably is.
Yeah. And it's so neat to watch the progression of when someone's like, that's her craft. That's her, you know, her modality, her thing.
Right.
And it's so interesting to watch how they get stronger at it over the years.
Yep.
I mean, I'm good at it, but she's great at it. I mean, because you really kind of have to relax and go down into that zone. My thing is dowsing rods. But yeah, she pops those headphones on, and you're having a conversation with somebody, and she can't, you know, you can't hear what the person's asking. So if I say, "Who am I talking to?" and they say Mike, I just did one here. I'll give you a good example. I was doing one on Saturday at this new building. I can't announce it yet, but I was doing one on Saturday at this new building, and I was in a bathroom because the females are saying they keep feeling like someone's watching them in the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm sitting there in the bathroom, and there's some people in the hall, and there's some people in the bathroom, and you know, I'm plugged into this, and apparently the door started closing. And enough so that they could hear it creaking, because it's an old building. It was built in 1914, I think. And the door started creaking as it was closing. It just started closing on its own. And I'm blindfolded, and what came out of my mouth was, "Leave it open."
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So basically what's in training you to do is to just let yourself go into kind of a trance state and just say whatever comes to your mind. Basically.
So you become the portal in a sense.
Right.
The portal. Yeah.
Makes sense.
It sounds like, though, it's kind of like, I mean, that's what you do when you're a medium, or when you're doing psychic stuff. You just shut down that critical mind and just start letting whatever come to you. So it's sort of in training people to sort of do that better and just not think about it, right? But
the more that you get used to it, and the more that you learn to just pop it on and just
go into it. Yeah.
Just let it. It's like a meditative state that you go into, because a lot of times I don't remember. Like, I didn't remember saying, "Leave the door open."
Right.
Right.
It's like channeling. Yeah. Channeling.
Especially if I have my name come through a lot, because I'll repeat. You know, I'll hear it, and they may be saying, "Who are you standing next to?" And I'm, blindfold. I said Rita.
Right.
So yeah, it's an interesting. It's a great tool. It needs to be used correctly, though. Again,
I think it could be dangerous, frankly, if the wrong person used it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Or you get people, like I said, they antagonize. Like, I listened to a live. Someone came out to one of our buildings out here in Globe the other day, and I had to let the owner know, because I popped on, and I was just so disappointed in the language that was being used, and the
disrespect
towards the spirits. Yeah, it was disrespectful.
Yeah.
And I tell people, if I find anyone being disrespectful or dabbling in the dark or poking the bear, as I call it, you're sent home immediately. There aren't second chances with me. And there's no refund either. So when I tell them, it's because I have to keep going to those places. B, it's just the right thing to do. And see, I've had spirits follow me to my house. I mean, That's right.
And we don't want that.
Move around.
Right. Yeah, they don't have to stay there. I mean, they can hitchhike home with you.
These spirits that use the tunnels.
Right.
And
that's what I think. That's interesting.
They move about. And so, and I heard someone being incredibly disrespectful. And I was just, no, why do you need to do that? Why do you need to do that? And
Yeah.
but because then and then you're being unsafe because
Yeah,
you don't know
totally.
what's going on.
You're basically asking for something bad to happen.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like when I
Well,
speak to
and-
this arsonist, as soon as it starts going like sideways, I'm stopping. And
Yeah.
I'll say, they'll hear me say during the STs, I am not repeating that, saying that, I'm going to stop it.
Right.
Yeah.
And I do. You've got to draw that line.
Yeah.
Can I ask you something?
Sure.
When you say that sometimes people who are investigating are disrespectful to the spirits, what do you mean by that?
They swear. They try to
They're
or they try to provoke. They're real hateful
provoke.
and like show yourself and
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
At every location, in every room, because I don't know what rooms the spirits can move through. I always start with, thank you for allowing me into your space. This is your home. I am just a visitor here, and I will be as respectful as possible. And again, it's not my place to judge if they were a horrible person or they committed a heinous act. It's my place to get the story, to what
Right.
happened, to hear what happened. And
you're like a ghost journalist.
yeah, and when
Yeah.
you get, and just like
Yeah.
when I worked, on with my psych patients, I'm not going to go in and judge them and start screaming at them because of what they did. I just need
Right.
that's where you get very matter of fact and flat affect and just you maintain
Right.
control. And you get these people that come in like to the jail with billy clubs, rattling it against the cells.
What?
And
Yeah.
this has been online. There was a team out of Texas. I'll be very blunt. There was a team that came to Globe out of Texas and it said that they were this great team. And I was nonplussed by every video I ever saw. Because if you have to go into a location and be swearing and
Were they
running
male?
the club up and
Were they mostly male?
No.
They weren't.
Oh,
They were
really?
women doing that? That's really dumb.
Wow.
Okay. Kind of understand dudes
Back
doing
into Globe, and I was like, we got a problem here.
Wow.
And so so when you have to do that, that's not investigating.
No,
That's not
no.
investigating. That's causing.
Can I ask you about investigating? I feel like I'm late to the party here. Is this a gigantic thing? Are there a lot of groups?
Yeah, there's a lot of people who do this now.
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh.
All over the country.
But the thing is, there's a handful that have integrity, and a lot of them are, especially like on YouTube or some of these shows, it's just like either they're making things up with the Estes,
Yeah.
or they try to like provoke. Mostly
Never
men is
provoke.
what I've seen do that. Yeah,
Never provoke.
create. Pardon?
I had one time at the jail, and the most notorious prisoner there, Kingsley Olds, he is accused of murdering the Goswick sisters.
Oh,
Myrtle
yeah,
and Ruby
yeah.
Goswick. And one time, and I don't know what it was, and I found the audio of it, and I don't know what it was. This was years ago, and I said, "Oh, you must feel like a tough guy with what you did to those girls." Now, here's the thing: I never believed that he did it. I've never.
I don't think so either. Yeah.
But I don't know why that came out of my mouth. And
Wow.
sure enough, the next night at home, I thought it was my husband who had fallen asleep in the living room, and I'm in the bedroom reading my Kindle, and there's a man that walks across, big black shadow of a man that walks across the foot of my bed. And I was like, "Oh, you're coming to bed?" And there's no one there.
Right.
And I immediately knew who it was. I immediately knew I effed up bad. And
Yeah.
a couple of hours later, to get off my bed, I guess this would be my most terrifying. To get off my bed, those movies where there's something under the bed and it's going to grab you?
Yes.
That's what I felt like. That's what I felt
Yeah.
like.
Yeah.
And I literally jumped off the bed, ran into the living room, woke my husband up, said, "You got to come to bed." And he's heard this story, so he knows why I woke him up now. And he came to bed, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm safe. Well, at about 3 a.m, and it's a big king size wooden bed. I mean, it's heavy. It's a big sleigh bed. And at about 3 a.m, something just smacked into the side of the bed, and I heard a man's voice in my ear go, "Hey!"
Oh
Yeah.
God.
And I
Yeah.
was like, oh no, no. So the next day I called someone, and in fact, I spoke with several people of how to, you know,
Get rid of him.
get rid of
Yeah.
them, send them
Yeah.
back to jail, and apologize.
Right.
And my house in the valley is on old Hohokam land, and I actually have a Native American spirit in my home. And I know that I remember when I first moved into the house, I was like, there's something here that I'm not, you get used to your spirits. You're
Hmm.
kind of used to the antics and everything, and there was something there that I was not used to. So I, relied on him also to send him back. And I think it was kind of like like when you're dealing with a curmudgeony old man and they are so like rough and gruff. I have patients like this.
Half my
And they're kind of
clients.
they're kind of like, they're kind of like busting your balls. And if you get through it,
Yeah, then they're fine.
they're like,
Oh, then they're wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah. I felt like that's what happened, because after that, it just opened up with me learning and getting more information during the investigations. It was kind of
Right.
like, you know,
Now, I've
do
never
that
done
again.
ghost
That happened
hunting.
again.
Never done it before in my life. I've lived in plenty of haunted places, but have never looked at ghost hunting. So my friend Justine and I are going to go down, and we're going to, and I just want the audience to know that if you're in the Arizona, look, I put her website in the show description so you can book a reservation and go down. She has multiple sites all over Arizona. So I'm going to do it for the first time ever on October 11th. It's so exciting,
Oh, wow. That'll be
Right
fun.
And so what building are we going to? And
You're going to the Elks building. So the 3-story Elks building. In fact, I pulled it out.
so that's one of your newer ones, right?
Let me check. Let me double check here.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's at the Elks building. But Denise, I'm with you. I don't think I could do that Estes thing. I think
Yeah,
I'd freak
I-
out.
You get to
I
see
know.
it. And the thing is,
But I can watch it. Yeah.
It's like, I'm hot. You're going to the Elks building. It's a 3-story Elks building built in 1910. And it was also a home to Jones Mortuary down in the basement. And we've had a lot happen there, a lot in that building. So, yeah.
Yeah, this will be exciting because I've just never done it before. And, I was
Yeah, I showed you that.
is it okay after the flood and, all of that?
Fine.
And it's
And I
fine
tell
there.
people, wear comfy shoes and comfy pants. There's gonna be times. I mean, if you're able to sit on the floor, or if you need, we can have a chair. Have a folding chair brought with you. There's stairs in the building. Again, at one point it was the tallest 3-story building in the world. It's in Ripley's, believe it or not.
Oh, wow.
The
Oh,
reason
cool.
why,
Am I allowed to film while or take pictures? Okay, because I'll share it with you guys. Okay.
On my investigations, I encourage people to film and take pictures. The only thing I ask is that if they're showing something that is from an investigation, that we just get tagged on it.
I'll send it to you. It's like,
I know.
Yeah.
There's some teams that say you can't do that. It's like, oh no, please, let's get it out there. You're
Right.
you are in one of my investigations. You are an investigator just as much as I'm an investigator. So your evidence is just as important as my evidence. And I always say too that every investigation is a puzzle. It's a different puzzle, and you are a piece of it. And it depends, who we have there is going to determine the type of activity we have, because you may bring something with you, an attachment, a spirit guide, or one of the spirits there may take a shine to you, or they may take a dislike to you. We just don't know. So
Right. Well, Justine seems to attract those. Like, I mean, she's a blonde and she's cute. And I mean, when we were down in Tombstone, I mean, they were like all over around her.
Yeah, does that matter when you're dead? I mean,
No, I think it
you're
depends
dead.
on
Why
your
would they care what
perspective.
you?
Oh
Pardon me?
no, some are real
preferences.
romantic.
Yeah. I mean, just think about you're talking to a live person. It's amazing some of the stuff that we get coming through. I had one at the jail that would come through all the time and say I reminded him of his sister.
Hmm.
Yeah,
So,
so is with the flood, this is just my own personal, that could be way off wrong. But for me, when I see stuff, it's when there's been moisture.
yeah.
It's partly why I moved to Arizona, because I just couldn't take it in Texas because it's damp and I could see ghosts all the time and I couldn't handle it,
Wow.
you know. But in Arizona, it's like, oh boy, you can see the sky and until it rains or snows, and then I can see them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was even telling somebody, because there's a funeral home not that far from here, and I could watch this procession of people walking by and whatever, but it's only when it's humid or it's
Wow.
rained.
You know, I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, neither have I. That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you did my thing, and I have very little water in my chart
your
thing or
chart,
whatever.
yeah.
So maybe it's because it activates that, and I don't
Maybe.
know.
Yeah, that's
But
interesting.
that's when I see stuff. So I was explaining to one of the people that live in St. John's what I was seeing on the street and these people. And she's going, oh, yeah, that was just like in 1939. That's what you were seeing. I mean, I could see the building.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
like, it's very weird. It's like, you remember the old Polaroid pictures, and it would like fade into, that's
Yeah.
what it's like. It like fades, like,
Are you
reality.
seeing ghosts, or are you seeing like a time, like through time?
I don't know. I don't know if it's ghosts or if I'm seeing a different time.
It
Although
sounds
I've
like
interacted
Same
with,
thing.
but I've interacted with the ghost thing too.
Not the
And
same
so-
thing, actually. Not the same thing, because ghosts are time, like having a time differential thing, or being like
Yeah.
having post-cognition, which is like the opposite of precognition, is seeing into the past, so you can
Right.
see like what
I
happened.
have that. I definitely
Yeah,
do. But the ghosts are
post-cognition.
different because
Yeah.
the ghosts, at least for me, they'll look at me and talk to me.
Wow.
You know, but if you're like looking into the past, it's like you're just observing.
Yeah, then it's like you're removed. It's
Right.
just like a
But
vision.
the ghost thing, they actually
Right, because they're
back
actually
behind,
there.
They put in
Right.
a
They have
big
consciousness.
building. Yeah, they
Right.
put in a building behind me, but until they did that, I would watch whenever after it snowed or rained, there would be like this procession of people going by. And
Wow.
I thought, I wonder if they're like from the funeral home or what this is.
Right.
And there was this one guy who was like, oh, she recognizes me. And so he would come hang out in the back where my office window was. And he was one of those kind of guys that have short legs and a long torso. You know what I mean? There's some men that have that build.
Mhm.
And so he was out there, and I would just like look at him, and I could describe everything that he wore and everything. And so I told some of the people, you know, that I knew in the office about this man that was back there, and they all just went like white. And I was seeing some guy that died like in the 70s, but
Right.
they all knew him. But for some reason, I don't know what that trail is of people. I've also seen like the LDS, like some of when I lived near Sholo, Bove had been out there. I rented from the girl that you remind me of, Denise, and for a while, and her kids would see the same thing that I saw. And we literally could see like Mormon pioneers, and they had gotten stopped in like a snowstorm or some kind of thing. And there was this little boy and a little girl that we could see as clear as could be. And they would go into her kids. She had twins. And they would go in the kids' room and literally pick things up and stuff. And so the first time I saw him, it snowed. See, I don't see it when it's dry, only if there's moisture.
That's
And I
interesting.
was out with Carrie, and because it had snowed, and we're like, oh boy, we need to go, hiking through this nice snow. And then I'm like, oh my God. And I thought there was a child leaning next to my propane tank.
Wow.
And I'm like, I literally went running up to him. Are you okay? You need some, I mean, I was so, and then Carrie's like, what are you doing? And then he disappears. And so I explained and she was very open-minded and kind of psychic and let her kids, talk about what went on. And so we all compared notes, and it was the same little boy that her
Right.
children had been seeing and I was seeing, the exact, and it was like some Mormon pioneer. It had the same, like, you know, and then they found stuff. Her husband would go out metal detecting and stuff, and I think there was a trail through there. And
Yeah. Sounds like
something may
that.
have happened from a really bad storm. So this is
But
going to
Deborah,
be interesting for our visit with you. Yeah.
that water thing is not unusual. I've just been reading about ancient temples and sanctuaries, and they always choose to build them
Over water,
on
yeah.
a certain kind of rock next to running water, because there's something about that
That's true.
does something to
Yep.
the energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask you, Rita, have you noticed after all of this flooding and then plus a lot of emotional stuff going on, has the energy like pumped up down there or?
I certainly think it's heightened. I've been kind of busy because we've been helping a lot with the cleaning effort.
Yeah.
So I'm super interested. This Saturday, I'm actually out in Oracle, which is about an hour away.
Yeah.
But I'm very interested to be getting into these buildings. Now, I did go Saturday into a building, and the interesting thing about that was we were getting not from that building that was built in 1914. We were getting a lot of activity, but it was from buildings that were there previously because Globe had experienced two massive floods in the late 1800s
Yeah.
and then another flood in the 1950s.
Wow.
It was built in 1914. And
Wow.
I was distinctly it was from, I mean, as soon as I went in, I was like, no, this is from before. This is from before. But yeah, we were getting that with the water and everything and the floods, and that was coming through a lot. So
Interesting.
yeah, a lot of activity in this building actually. In fact,
Wow.
the director of the building called me. He's like, I've been seeing thing, and he goes, I feel like someone's watching me. And I said, it's okay. It's there. There was nothing malicious there.
Right.
If there was, I would have stopped it and just been like, honestly, I would have not considered it a building to go back. You know, I wouldn't want to bring anything. I wouldn't want to encourage anything for
Right.
the type of building that it is. I wouldn't want to encourage that. So, but no, I was like, there's absolutely nothing malicious here.
You know, Globe, it
and it was
feels to
intelligent.
me, Globe feels like the whole town feels like a portal thing to me.
Yeah.
Because the very first time I drove through there, I was like bilocated. Like part of me got to my destination and another part was still there. I don't know how to explain that, but I was very aware of that when I was trying to sleep. It's like I was still wandering around in town. It was very strange. It's got a real intense energy.
It does, and it had so much history, and just with the mining, and it's had a lot of trauma,
Yeah.
and we get adults, we get children that come through, and the interesting thing was, and even Lori, our psychic, brought it up, is that over the past like 6 months, we've been getting a lot of flood victims coming through from, which is what led me to studying on it. We were getting a lot of flood victims coming through, especially two little girls, Rosa and Rosita. They were friends, and a lot. And a film crew actually came here, Ghost Town USA, and the guy doing the videography was terrified because he walked upstairs at one point, and so he didn't have his camera with him. He was just walking upstairs to grab something, and he saw these two little girls standing at the end of the hall, kind of like what you'd see in The Shining.
Right. Right.
I'd like you to see that because they were kind of grayish blue.
Right.
And I had a long conversation with him because he was, and I didn't know he had this experience. And then I went to the director and was like, we're having a lot of flood victims come through. What is going on? I said, and these two girls have started coming through. Because you get to know your buildings, right? And what you're gonna have in what areas. And she's like, oh my gosh, you have got to call so and so. So I did. And I mean, he even said, he goes, I've had this happen all my life. He goes, I prayed for it to go away. And I told him, I said, so I said, I've had the girls come through to me too. They just want to play. And even though I think spirits are tricksters, and you don't always get children when you think you're getting children, I truly
Right.
believe are children. And I said, you're not going to pray this away. As like, maybe if you look at it from a different perspective. And I told him my outlook on it, and how I feel I'm so fortunate to see it, and that helps you control it too. Because if you're in that constant state,
Yes, you're scared.
fight about it, you're like, I
Mhm.
can't control it, and then what are you doing? You're just creating more energy.
Right.
So, but
Yep.
if you just okay, it's, I mean, I have been known to say, like, if I hear my doorknobs clicking, especially at my house in the valley, because they're all lever doorknobs, and I'll hear them clicking, it's like, okay, knock it off.
Right. That's it. You got to, yeah, that's
During
right.
daytime, and but I explained to him, about, and again, I use that word control. I use it a lot, but it really is about controlling it.
Yeah, it is. That is absolutely what it's about.
And I
Yeah.
said, you're a videographer. You guys are out learning the story. That's what you do. That's your maybe that's your predestiny in life to do that. And so do it. These spirits want to tell you you have been
Yeah.
having spirits try to tell you their story your entire life, and you've been trying to pray it away instead
Yeah.
of it's a
I
story.
love that.
Right.
That's great.
Right. Instead of listening. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Story.
Well, Rita, we've kept you for an hour and a half, so I wanted to just open up to Bove and Helen and Denise if they have any like closing questions here. I mean, what a great sport you are, Rita.
Rita, you are truly a fascinating individual. Listening to you is riveting. The knowledge and experience that you have is just so overwhelming. I cannot believe some of what you have, most actually of what you've shared with us tonight. It is just jaw dropping to me. And Deborah, I had no idea that you were specific water triggered. I think
Yeah, I didn't know that
that's
either.
truly fascinating. And
Yeah.
it doesn't surprise me. And me, once again, I have no, association to any of this. I love you all, and I'm grateful to be here.
She picks up on stuff and doesn't even realize it. She'll say
Yeah.
stuff, and it's like, no, she's great.
But thank
about-
you so much, Rita.
Oh, thank you guys. I really appreciate it. I can talk forever, so
Oh, okay. Well, if you can, it's up to you guys what you want to do. So Helen, this is all new to you. Do you have any
Well,
questions
it's
about?
interesting, Rita. I didn't know what you did I thought you just did this for a living. Actually, you work in healthcare, and I used to, and I absolutely recognize your attitude, because a lot of people who work in healthcare see this kind of thing all the time. And don't take this wrong, I love the matter of factness that you approach it with, because it's just natural.
Yeah.
And you see aging people, dying people, interacting with another dimension all the time. It's actually remarkable. So I think it's great. Yeah.
That's very
Well,
cool.
and another interesting factoid is the hospital out here in Globe that I work at, it was the original Globe Hospital, and now it's a skilled nursing facility, and it's incredibly haunted. And
Oh, wow.
we used to talk about this. The thing is, when we bought this house, we were looking for something bigger, and I was nope, everything was a nope. Some of them I wouldn't even walk in. I was like, I do not like the vibe in this thing. And I opened the door to this house, and I said, "This will do." And my husband's like, "What?" He goes, "You haven't even opened a cabinet." I was like, "I don't need to. This is it."
Right.
Yeah.
And we're about 3 blocks away from where I work, so not having a commute, that's like a whole new wonderful world to me. But
Especially Phoenix traffic. Oh gosh. That's
when I
awesome.
bought it, I wasn't working at the hospital, but I started, or I should say, at the skilled nursing facility. So they would tell me this story about this little boy, and they would call him the little black boy. And I was like, oh, okay. And so one day I was, it was a beautiful fall day, and my husband had left to go back to the valley. I was working. I came home, and we had a dog at the time, and I have carpeting in this house, and I hate carpeting. And I was like, you know, I'm going to steam clean the carpeting. It's the last really beautiful day. I can leave the doors open. We have those metal screen door, you know, those security screen doors. I was like, and we're getting a beautiful breeze through here. And so I'm doing this, and I could hear something at the back door. Now, this house is 975 square feet. It's a bungalow. It's tiny. And I look in the kitchen. There's no one there. And then I hear something at the front door. And I look at the front. I mean, I can stand and look at both.
Right.
All I got to do is turn my head. And there's nothing there. And you know when you know there's something in the room with you?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, who's here with me? Who is playing the game? Playing games. Who's playing games with me? And it was just that feeling of like, but it was new. Like, you know, when you have a new presence with you.
Mm-hmm.
And so a friend of mine was coming over that afternoon, and I told her, I said, you know, I don't like to do investigating in my home. But I said, I've got to find out what's here. So, and we did a live so we could have a psychic I know on the line also. And I mean, I'm putting out the equipment and it's going crazy. I'm just setting it out and it's going crazy, and it's going crazy around like the things that a child would appreciate. So I said, we're just going to do an Estes. And we did. And apparently I was saying, she was asking, you know, where are you? And my response was, I'm right next to you. I'm touching you. And I would be like, there's something touching me too. And then at one point, though, I heard a woman's voice say, Stephen. And then this most blood curdling scream, Stephen.
Wow.
Stop the Estes. Because I was so sad.
Wow.
And I was like, I know who it is, who's here. His name is Stephen. And I went to work the next day and I started asking some more questions about this boy. I said, was his name Stephen? And they're like,
Right.
no.
Right.
So it was. And I said, and by the way, he's not a black boy. What it is it was a smoke on his skin. And many people have seen him. I mean, they see nurses walking through walls. I mean, this place is
Right.
heavily active. And I said, I said, it's just the smoke that was on his body and the burns. Hey, Bethany.
Oh, so she did that. Oh, wow.
She was the one doing the Estes with me. So
Wow.
Bethany, you're talking about Stephen at the house. And
He followed you home.
and
Yeah.
so and
Yeah.
Bethany, who just joined, a while later, I get a call at work because a lot of times I'll be at work on a Monday and she'll be here staying at the house. And she calls me. She's like, I just saw the little boy in your bathroom.
Wow.
God.
Did he stay at your
Wow.
house, or did you bring him? I mean, did he go back to the?
He
to
goes
the
back
nurse?
and forth.
Oh, he goes back and forth. Okay.
He comes
Would
here.
he die in a fire?
It sounds like it. Yeah.
And I
Wow.
mean, they had the articles. I mean, it's a true, it actually happened, not just like a
Right.
or something. No, it
Right.
actually happened.
Right. The
He,
documentation.
he,
Yeah.
he appears a lot on the lockdown dementia unit, which doesn't surprise me because, again, like I was saying earlier, people with dementia tend to revert to that childlike.
Yeah. Right. Right.
And I think that's a place where he feels really comfortable. And the interesting thing was the day that happened, and what maybe was a little bit of a catalyst for it was I was down in the basement and I happened to run into the maintenance supervisor, and they all know what I do, and none of the patients do, but they all know what I do. And I was like, hey, so I keep hearing about this morgue room and this incinerator room, because back then everything went in the incinerator. It's not like it's just everything went in the incinerator.
Wow.
And or I should say the same incinerator was used for everything. And so I actually got access to some rooms that I normally, there'd be no reason for me to go into. And it was that afternoon that happened.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
Maybe he was like, oh, you came down to my area, my play area.
Right.
I don't know. I don't
Right.
know. But all I know is he came here, and then he came
Yeah.
here. And then every
Now,
now
have you guys, Annabelle is asking, I don't know what a yellow rose smells like, but she says that she had one follow her back to New York City from a ghost town in California, and she had a scent of yellow roses. Do you
Wow.
smell the? I don't know what yellow roses smell like, but do you
Maybe it's
smell
like rose.
different things?
I have.
Yeah, I
I've
have.
Yeah,
a lot.
me too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Specifically associated with the ghost of an old man in a very old house, and it was turned into a gift shop. My mother and I were wandering around. My mother was very psychic, and when the two of us got together, weird things happened. And he followed us upstairs. We went upstairs and had our backs to the stairs, and I thought it was the owner of the shop coming to kind of make sure we weren't robbing the store, you know.
Mhm.
And I turned around to say, "Oh, nothing in my pockets," and there was nobody there. And he
Right.
just, we could hear him. He just walked past us like there was somebody there, but there was nobody there. And
Right.
on our way out, we did one more little tour of what would have been the parlor. And my mother said, "Oh my God, Helen, come here." And I went over to the corner where she was, and it was just like an invisible threshold. It filled with the smell of lilies and was ice
Wow.
cold. And I
Wow.
thought, you know, parlor, old house. I bet
Yeah, right.
somebody was laid out.
Yes,
know.
definitely.
Yeah.
That's
Probably.
what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
So
We went home.
Interesting.
Bethany is
enough-
mentioning a fire that took out Globe in 1894. I remember reading about that too. So
Yeah. Interestingly enough,
Interesting.
when you say you heard something, so I've been working with a production company, and we went to a location, and everyone was outside, and they asked me to go on into this building and, put your stuff out, see what you get. So I'm in this building, and I thought that the audio guy was supposed to be going upstairs with me. So I
Oh.
get to this, and it's an older building, and I'm walking, and it's well over 100 years old, well over. And I'm walking, and I'm thinking he's walking behind me. I mean, I can clearly hear.
Yeah, it sounds real.
And
Yeah.
you feel someone's behind you, and I'm
Yeah.
talking to him as if he's
Mhm.
behind me. And I get to the end of the hall, and I turn around,
There's nobody there.
and there's no one there.
Mhm.
The thing
It's
is,
not. It's such a disconnect, isn't it?
Yeah.
You just go, well, wait a minute.
but here's the wonderful thing: I was mic'd up.
Oh, that's good.
Oh
So you
wow.
got a date. That's
Yeah,
good.
when you're mic'd up, you completely forget about it. Like,
Yeah.
until
Right.
the bathroom, right? And then you're like, I don't want my mic on. But I completely forgot. I was mic'd up. They caught it.
That's
They
cool.
got the sound
Wow.
of the footsteps.
And me
Oh, I
talking
love
to it, and then turning around and being like, "Where? Hello?"
Right.
I love it. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Did you have any questions, Denise?
No, not really. I mean, so she runs basically. Remember those pictures I showed of the
Yeah.
teeth and all that. That was
Yeah.
like a ghost tour in right before
New
the big
Orleans.
flooding in New
Yeah.
Orleans.
New Orleans. Yeah.
Yeah, so
But
you
before
run a
Katrina,
ghost
yeah.
tour basically. That's is that what you take
Yeah.
people to
So
tours?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
we do it's paranormal investigation,
Right.
and that we provide all the equipment. And I tell the people
Yeah, that's what it was like.
honestly we've always had activity, but I
Right.
have the disclaimer. Well, I can't promise that something will happen, but
Right.
if something didn't happen, you will leave here with more knowledge and
Right.
knowing about the building. And so we're very historically based, very, very
Right.
historically based.
That,
Yeah,
and I
and
love the
then-
history stuff.
and then
That's
they-
going to be so fun.
Yeah, and
Hello,
then they-
Denise.
the guest investigators are just like me. You get to investigate. You ask questions. So the
Right.
first part of the first part of the investigation is group investigation. We go through the
Right.
parts of the building. You learn how to use the equipment. You learn the history, and then it's independent investigating time. And you can go off on your own and do your own thing. If you'd like to investigate with one of the team members, that's fine too. That's what we're there for. Or maybe investigate. Sometimes people will kind of get their own little group together
Mhm.
and do something. So yeah, and then it's worked beautifully because I want people to be able to be about on
Yeah.
their own. But if they're not comfortable with it, then that's what we're there for. And even like with the overnights, if people stay for the overnight, sometimes they'll do some on their own, and then they'll come to me and be like, "Oh my gosh, we got something. Can you please come down to the basement with us?" perfect, no problem. So
Right.
That's cool.
we'll set up, I call them hubs throughout the night. So that we may have, I may say, okay, at midnight, we're going to meet. We're going to be investigating. Our group's going to be investigating this spot. So if you want to come join us, that's fine. And we'll do that in different locations.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, that's cool.
Well, I'm really looking forward to that. So any of you guys, if you make it into Arizona, be sure
Yeah.
to check out, what's your website address again, Rita?
It's so hard. azghostadventures.com.
And then from her website, you can, click onto the Facebook and her other, media there.
Yeah,
And
they're all-
I'm looking forward to this because you seem like
That'd be
you
fun.
have so much integrity.
Oh, thank you.
I think in
No,
this
that is so
field,
important. That is.
yeah, because I think in this field, there are a lot of people without integrity, at least in my esteemed opinion, but I think it's rare. And so if I'm going to do this for the first time, and my friend Justine had never done it before either, I'd much rather have my first experience with somebody who has integrity.
Thank you. Yeah, credibility is huge. We don't have to, the great thing is we don't have to make things up. I've been exposed to people that did that. Like we had to kick someone out once from another team and he wanted to come investigate with us. And I caught him doing the whole out demon thing. And camera set up, and one of my other guests it was during a break and he didn't know that I was upstairs. I was picking up because I only have so much equipment, right? And I hear this and I come out into the hallway and they're videoing, and you could of course hear me saying, what the hell is going on? And there is one of my guests is like, oh, wide-eyed. And so it was staged. And
that's lame.
Yeah. Then you can't have anything to do with us. And, and I'm trademarked. So if you put anything out there, because my logo is all over my clothing, I mean, I live in my logo. And, unfortunately, it was so bad I had to threaten legal action.
Wow.
I was like, I will not have anything like that associated with my name. And I'm trademarked. And if you put anything with my name out there against, you don't have a consent, and I will sue you. So there are some people out there that they're all about the jump scare, and it's like
it's so dumb. Yeah, it's so stupid. Yeah,
it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so
no.
Is it okay to mention your company if I mention it on my channel? You won't
Yes,
sue me?
Yes, please. AZ Ghost Adventures.
Oh, this is so pretend possession. That kind of stuff drives me up the wall. I cannot stand watching that stuff.
It was
Bethany, we're on the same wavelength, girl.
It's terrible. That's really, really messed up. That's really messed up.
It is. Well, a lot of these shows, they do that, though. It's like...
Yeah, I know they do. Yeah.
Okay, y'all.
Guess what? Well, it was really fun.
But Deborah's bladder is full. So we can keep on and I leave. But I can't wait to meet you in person, Rita. This will be fun. And then I'll follow up with you guys, the team. It's always good to see all of you. So
thanks, Deborah.
Happy October. I can't believe it's October already.
I know, it's almost Halloween. That'll be fun.
That's right.
Thanks, Rita.
I got my pumpkin spice pie.
Everyone.
Yeah. So thank you all, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Lots of love.
Thanks so much for joining us. We love hearing your stories, so tell your friends so they can join the party. For show notes and our forum of high strangeness, visit cosmicfold.com. Remember, Cosmic Fold airs live on Wednesday and Saturday nights, so be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell to know when we're on air. Thanks again and have a great evening.